And a situation over because this is a game of huge consequence and still is a game of huge consequence. But now it means slightly less, or the stakes are slightly less, because both teams can obviously sustain a loss, maybe even two, and make the college football playoff in the new 12-team format. So I'm curious to know if fans agree with that sentiment, because most people seem like they're along for the ride on the 12-team stuff. People like Josh Pate, who are arguing adamantly against expansion of the college football playoff, probably don't love it because it does feel a bit less when you know that both teams are going to be able to survive this theoretically. But I still feel like Alabama-Georgia means the most of any college football game that's been played to date on the season. And that still does mean something to me.
So let's say Alabama leads 28-24. Georgia has the football with 37 seconds left, 2nd and 9 on the Alabama 23-yard line. The crowd is going absolutely insane, trying to get the stop, trying to get Alabama the win. Are we going to be looking around in that moment thinking, man, I wish this game meant more? No, we're not. We're not. It's going to feel the exact same as it always has. And I've always kind of scoffed at this notion that, because you said previously this would be an elimination game. And I see what you're saying, because the 14 playoff, obviously the margin for error is so much thinner. And that is what people that are anti-playoff expansion, hammer, that the regular season games mean infinitely more in a 14 playoff than they do a 12-team playoff. And they're not wrong about that. But I would also push back on saying it would be an elimination game in the past. Alabama in 2017 lost to Auburn in the Iron Bowl and did not even win their division, didn't even make it to the SEC championship game. A couple weeks later, college football playoff selection committee puts out the 4. Alabama's the 4 seed because Auburn went to Atlanta. They lost to Georgia, and Alabama was ruled the 4th best team in the country. Very controversial, but the committee still said, no, they're still a top 4 team in the country. So these games have not been these automatic eliminators as much as people do revisionist history and say they have been. Like, I remember a 10-2 LSU team winning the national championship in the BCS era in 2007. The game's not going to mean any less. They could still both get into the 12-team playoff. They could still both get into the 14 playoff if we were still in that era, regardless of what happened on Saturday, if they were to both run the table. And I understand that the stakes would be higher for the rest of the season for both than they are now. But it matters very much for the SEC championship game in Atlanta. The loser of this game, if Georgia were to lose this game, I imagine it would be very difficult for Georgia to run the table, beat Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, and still end up in Atlanta. So to me, the stakes are not going to feel any less on Saturday as they would in a 14 playoff. I think that's a non-starter conversation, in my opinion.
Well, I agree with you. Because to your point, like, are we really going to be maligning in-game if the game comes down to the wire? I mean, I don't think either team is expecting any kind of blowout type of situation. That would be the biggest surprise if one team ran away from the other one in this game, where Georgia is favored by 2.5 in some places, 1.5 in some places, and they are on the road in Tuscaloosa. The question then becomes, what is going to decide this game? We brought up earlier Georgia's downfield passing game, or lack thereof, through the first 4 weeks of the college football season, where all Alabama does, seemingly, is push the ball down the field. Their intermediate passing game seems to be non-existent, with Jalen Milroe, who's not turning the ball over, but still has plenty of development that you would like to have at the quarterback position in a system like Kalen DeBoer is trying to run. Because it's not, I mean, obviously Kalen DeBoer is pushing the ball down the field at Washington. Like, Michael Penix was capable, ended up being a top 10 draft pick, arguably the most pro-ready quarterback, not just because he's played a lot of football. I mean, how long was Penix in college football for? Like 5 years? 6 years? Maybe not 6.
Yeah, I mean, no.
Every bit of 5.
It might have been 6. It might have been 6.
Either way, with all this being said, the biggest questions that I have, because I do think the favorite is vulnerable here, because I don't think that they can go, if it turns into a shootout, which a Georgia-Alabama game turning into a shootout is something that we have not been able to talk about or even, theorize based on what these two teams have been in their past. But if Alabama can turn this into a track meet, I don't have any confidence that Georgia can keep up right now.
Well, they haven't showed us that yet, but we've gotten to this point in the season before where Georgia hasn't showed us Georgia. It's just the way people act like the close call against Kentucky is the first time we've seen that. Georgia almost lost to Auburn. Was it last season? Last season. Last season, Georgia almost lost to Auburn. They needed Brock Bowers to bail them out of that game in Jordan-Hare Stadium in the biggest way. So we've seen this before from Georgia. Jalen Milroe in the run game could be the big X factor to me in this. If he's able to break the pocket, and just shred Georgia, it's almost like that is Alabama's intermediate offense, is Jalen Milroe gashing defenses in the run game with just ripping off 15, 20-yard chunk plays running the football. He's electric doing it. And it's going to be fun to watch Kalen DeBoer and Jalen Milroe in that offense for the first time against a legitimate elite SEC defense.
615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to join the conversation, we would be happy to have you. Richie says, oh, my God, they're not talking about the Titans? Say it ain't so. I mean, literally just did an hour worth of Titans, and we're going to do more Titans here in just a second. Calm down. Jack is up next.
To me, it is not the top of the heap, Alabama and Georgia, that it has been, at least ever since Kirby's had his run going. Either one of them could be beat by Texas. Plus, where is Tennessee going to fit into all this? And if I were a betting kind of guy, I'd bet the house on Georgia.
You'd bet the house on Georgia. You think they're going to come out and prove it on Saturday night?
Georgia is not going to lose to Alabama, especially an Alabama that doesn't have Nick Saban.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
I would like to save that call. Let's bookmark that, Jackson, because I am going to bet Alabama. I have bet Alabama. I got it.
Alabama.
At 2.5. Alabama.
That's right. That's under Kalen DeBoer.
That's an old school fan.
Under Kalen DeBoer, they are Alabama. Under Nick Saban, they were Alabama. I love that. That's fantastic. No, I
think Georgia is maybe not totally gettable here, but I think they're gettable.
Well, we were talking about it with Pate during the break. Who do Tennessee fans want to win this game? Because in recent years, it's kind of been a situation where Georgia and Alabama playing each other in the national championship. I think most Tennessee fans hate Alabama more than they hate Georgia. It's a more fierce rivalry. But in recent years, it was, well, no, you probably want Alabama to win that national championship because what's another championship for Alabama? What we can't have is Georgia at the top of the heap as a new powerhouse in college football. Well, that's already happened. So if you're a Tennessee fan, I'm wondering, like, who do you want to win here?
No, you're not. Why are you wondering? You know. You already answered the question.
Well, I want Georgia to win the game. I always want Alabama.
To see undefeated Alabama, which is a thing that has changed in the short time that you and I have been doing a radio show together. Because used to be you would take vacation on Tennessee-Alabama week because you were scared.
Yeah, that's very true. I more than anything, though, am so fascinated to see how the Alabama fan base would receive a loss here in this setting. It'd be the first time that happens under Kalen DeBoer in the post-Nick Saban era, and I'm fascinated at how they would digest that.
I don't even know if it matters how they lose, right? Because the thing right now has been the Alabama offense looks like it hasn't missed a beat or improved, obviously, under Kalen DeBoer. Like, that's been the big thing here. And again, the level of competition is fair to question in the early part of the season for everybody, whether it's Tennessee, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Texas, or Alabama. I keep wanting to say Alabama.
But I think the overarching point, this game does not lose value because we have a 12-team playoff now. You could erase the 12-team playoff. You could get rid of it. This game would still feel like it means just as much.
It just means
more?
What can bring Titans fans happiness in a season that's got a lot of sad going for it right now? We'll do that. We'll do Friday Fire. We're a little late to it because Jarvis Brownlee was on the show today, but that's all good. All of that coming up next. All right. How about some feel good? We haven't done Friday Fire yet. Normally we do it at 11:45, but Jarvis Brownlee was on the show, so we adapt, we adjust. We'll do Friday Fire here in just a little bit. If you don't know what that is, because we don't normally do it in this hour, and you don't normally listen to us in this hour, that's fine. It's just you're going to give us a moment of positivity. What? Give us something good that happened to you this week. Maybe it's just the fact that it's raining, and we have been in a statewide drought for a period of time. Now, I know we're getting rain because there's a hurricane, and many people in Florida are dealing with some less than ideal circumstances. And, of course, we're, keeping an eye on everything as far as Hurricane Helene goes. The images always in hurricane coverage are jarring, but particularly so in Tampa this time around. They seem to be experiencing a record amount of flooding. Either way, it's been, bad vibes around certainly the local professional football team. So we're looking for some good. Give us your Friday Fire, 615-737-1045. Personal, professional, sports-related, whatever you got. We will get to them here in just a little bit. But we have some transactions that have just been made official. They finally did put Chido Awuzie on injured reserve. That was made official by the team. They also called up Luke Gifford from P Squad to active roster. And as a corresponding transaction, put defensive tackle McTelvin Agim on the practice squad. So he is there, and we'll see what happens with Jeff Simmons' elbow. I know that he missed time yesterday dealing with the elbow. That was an injury that he came out of the game with. It doesn't sound like his status is in question. I mean, maybe he's listed as questionable on the injury report, but right now, remember, they won't have to make final determinations today. They'll make final determinations on the injury report tomorrow because of the Monday Night Football game. So 3 different moves there, and that means Jarvis Brownlee Jr., come on down. You get I know he played last week. I didn't even do the come on down thing because Bob Barker is doing the come on down thing right now on television in front of us, RIP. But his real welcome to the NFL moment, because I know Brownlee's played in a couple of games at this point, is going to be against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. No small feat for a 5th-round rookie, but we'll see whether he has it in him. I'm seeing some reaction in the YouTube chat. AJ Parkinson says, yuck, Gifford? Why? I mean, I don't know. He's a special teams player. Like, he's going to play special teams for you. Beyond that, I mean, it's not like he's going to see a bulk of defensive snaps. At least you better hope not. You've got Gibbons, you've got Murray, you've got Ernest Jones IV as well. Cedric Gray will be eligible to return after this game, for what it's worth, because he will have to miss at least 4 games, having started the year on injured reserve. Whether that makes a difference in the off-ball linebacker rotation or snap count, unlikely at this point, but just something to keep an eye on. So, what can be done in a season where it doesn't look like things are trending in the right direction, right? They're down 0-3. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. If they finish with a winning record, it'll be an upset. Statistically, their chances are not good at either of those things. But that doesn't mean that the season is completely lost, even though those are the most likely scenarios that are playing out. Now, could they do the unthinkable and, rattle off a win streak here and make a push for a wild card? Maybe. There haven't been many teams that have been able to do that, though. Certainly not starting 0-3. Even 0-2 teams have struggled to battle back from that kind of a slide at the start of the year. And the 2 teams that have made the postseason after starting 0-2 had much higher level quarterback play than we think this team is capable of, at least right now, right? We don't think Will Levis is Joe Burrow from 2022. We don't think Will Levis is 2023 C.J. Stroud. We're still waiting for him to have a complete performance where it feels like you can trust him. But if the season trends in a less than ideal direction, what positives can be had from this Titan season? Because you can't just throw up your hands and surrender Cobra the way that your quarterback did in week 1. You can't do it in week 3.
Well, I've got one.
What you got?
And it's unfortunate that we're still talking about poor offensive line play when the most important decision that you made along the offensive line in the offseason early on looks like a good decision with J.C. Latham at the 7th overall pick to be your left tackle of the future. Now, the problem is, as the left tackle spot has finally come back to the mean, right? Because Latham has given you competent to good tackle play with some rookie moments in between. But Titans fans would have killed for competent to good tackle play over the course of the last 2 years. As that has come back to the mean, it seems like the situation at right tackle has taken a steep dive. And I know it wasn't good at any point with NPF. He was never one of the better right tackles in the NFL. And maybe
there were some people citing some Pro Football Focus grades that I did not find relevant based on what he looked like on the field.
But it never felt as crippling as it did against the Packers, the right tackle spot in the last couple of years.
Well, so after Hubbard went down, was Radens the right tackle for the bulk of last season? I want to say that he, maybe not the bulk, but he ended up finishing the year as the starting right tackle.
Did he?
Yeah. I know. It didn't sound right in my head.
Did NPF finish the year injured last season?
Oh, yeah. Nick played like 2 games. Nick appeared
That's right,
in like
he didn't
2.5 games because he came back
He
from
was
the
out
suspension.
throughout OTAs. He wasn't even healthy until training camp.
Well, but that was a different injury than the
That's right. That was
the
a
injury
shoulder.
that ended his year. He got a season-ending shoulder injury after the Thursday night Steelers loss.
Yeah.
Hubbard had been hurt before then because they had already, because they benched Dillard in, I almost said in Baltimore, but it was London against Baltimore with Dillard and NPF, who played left, and then NPF came back the next week and started at right and then sustained the season-ending shoulder. No, Falcons game was the next game, then the Steelers game, then NPF was done for the year.
It seems like you have a left tackle, right? I mean, is that the biggest silver lining of what has happened so far in the first 3 weeks?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What is more positive than that
Nothing.
through the first few weeks of the season?
Nothing, because Cushenberry has had more negative snaps than Titans fans probably would have expected him to. Skoronski, I don't know what to do with him other than to say, I mean, I guess you let it play itself out, because for as underwhelming as Levis has been, I think Skoronski is the more underwhelming player as the former first-round pick there. That's supposed to be a blue-chip caliber talent that you have on your offensive line, and he is coming off a game where he is credited with the most pressures allowed of any of the 5 of them, including NPF.
We talked a lot in training camp about how the performance of the year 2 guys in 2023 was as important as any group of players, right? The incoming free agents, the rookies, like you needed to see something from the year 2 guys from the 2023 draft class. And the Levis conversation is what it is. Peter Skoronski has had his struggles. And it's not like Tyjae Spears has been bad, but he clearly is the number 2 back at the moment behind Pollard.
Yeah, that whole division of labor thing that they sold us on at the start of the year has not been terribly, I'm not going to say that it's been not been terribly truthful, because, they can't predict how these games are going to play out. And it's not like they're looking at Tony Pollard's snap count in game and being like, okay, quick, get Tajay some snaps so we can even this thing out a little bit.
Pollard has 39 carries to Spears' 12. Pollard has 158 yards on those carries. Spears has 48, so they're averaging almost the exact same amount, about 4 yards per carry. And Tyjae Spears has 10 catches on the year. Pollard has 11.
There's one person in the YouTube comments still advocating to put Peter Skoronski at tackle. I just don't know how you can continue to beat that drum when the entire NFL, including the new coaching staff, has told you, no, that guy's a guard. Especially if you're theorizing, what are you going to put him at right? Because then NPF, you can't do anything with him. NPF cannot play guard. Just in the same way that, maybe Skoronski could give you some snaps at tackle, but it's not going to be at right. Now you're asking the guy to change positions and change size. The degree of difficulty on that is not small.
I've seen a lot of comments. Taylor just submitted this again in the F&M Bank chat, and I've seen a few people talk about this. Will Levis snapping the football close to the end of the play clock.
Oh, yeah.
And that allowing the defense to pretty easily time up the snap.
Yeah.
I don't think Callahan was asked about that. Was he at all throughout the course of the week or post-game?
I haven't, because of the practice schedule this week, I haven't been able to. He wasn't asked about it in the immediate post-game. I can tell you that for sure. But I will tell you that is a problem. Absolutely. It gives away a part of the game. And again, part of that is comfort level within the offense. It's taking them time to get these play calls off. They're getting pretty close to delay of games. Now, there hasn't been an overwhelming amount of delay of game penalties on the Titans offense or anything like that, but they're working out the kinks of this stuff in real time. in ways that maybe you thought maybe they might be able to accomplish more of that in the preseason or whatever the case might be. But that's a learning curve as a part of new offense, new players. Hey, let me make sure everybody's in the right spot. And even then, they're having some miscues. That they're not getting delays of game, though. They're getting it that close to the wire where, the Packers were just able to time it up as well as they needed to. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. AJ says, but NPF can't play tackle either when I'm alleging that he can't play guard. Yeah, that's fair. But at least he's got experience at not being good at tackle. Guard is just, it would be a mess. It would be an unholy mess. Rick is up first. Hey, Rick.
How you doing?
Good.
Hey, I was going to talk about Levis a minute.
Sure.
Troy Aikman won one game the first year he played. He won 7 games the second year he played, and he won a Super Bowl the third year he played. Peyton Manning didn't win one game the first year he played. Both of them are Hall of Famers. Now, are we getting a little quick on Levis or not?
No, we're not getting too quick on Levis. You're citing quarterback play from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, in the case of Aikman. The game is different. The world is different around the young quarterbacks they're expected to produce right now. So I would say, it's significantly different than those two.
I don't know this, but how did Patrick Mahomes do his first year? Do you have any clue?
He sat.
Okay. All right, Buck, that's all I got, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Rick. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's all right. We just got to work through that.
That is the default, right? Whenever a young quarterback struggles early, how often do you hear Peyton Manning broke the rookie record for interceptions his first year with the Colts?
Peyton won a game his rookie year, yeah?
Yeah, but that's not, we don't need to get into that semantics argument. They won 2-3.
I don't know. There's a lot that was wrong in there. But I feel like I need to clean up afterwards.
But that is the unfortunate truth, right? And a lot of times it's not fair. It's not fair. Like Kevin O'Connell. You referenced the Kevin O'Connell audio that organizations fail young quarterbacks more than vice versa. And it's so absolutely true. Like what Sam Darnold is doing right now is such a good prime example of that. He's playing the best football of his career. A year ago, 2 years ago, Sam Darnold, you didn't even want him as your backup. So it is crazy how that has come along for some players in their second or third stop, like a Baker Mayfield or a Geno Smith, who took like a decade to turn into a competent NFL starting quarterback. But you don't have time for that. Like, that's just the unfortunate truth, right? That you just don't have time for that with Levis. You spent the most amount of money in the NFL in the summer, and you didn't do that for Levis to be good in 4 years. You did it for him to be good now.
Yeah, the clip that Lucas referenced is something that I brought up with Coach Mack. This is Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell who's obviously having great success with Sam Darnold at this point. This is an appearance on the Rich Eisen show where he's talking about the state of quarterbacking in the league right now.
I just think as a whole, there's not enough emphasis put on the organization's role in the development of the position. Meaning, I do believe this, Rich. I believe that organizations fail young quarterbacks before young quarterbacks fail organizations, and that's not there's no specific example in my mind that I could give you of a team or a quarterback, but just overall 30,000-foot view, I think it's important to understand that every single one of these guys is on a journey, a very difficult journey, that they need the support, they need the teammates around them, they need the systems in place to ultimately try to maximize who they are and what their potential is, because you're still drafting players, Rich, off of potential. And then everything that happens from that moment to when that potential becomes a reality is really on the organization if you've got the right guy that you're bringing in. And then in regards to, I do believe there's some times where things just don't work out, and then getting a chance to kind of, wipe the slate clean and get a restart while still using your previous experiences to kind of shape how you're going to work, why you're going to work, why things are important to you, will only make guys better in the end. And I think we've seen some examples of that in our league as well over the last few years.
It's what I feel like we've been saying. It's rare, though, to hear a head coach talk about that, though. And we've contextualized it differently, where our version of the conversation is, geography matters, like where these young quarterbacks land or where any young player lands, where they're thrust into an opportunity. If you're a top draft pick, you're going to a bad team. You're probably going to a coaching staff that's new or turned over or struggling, trying to keep a handle on their jobs and their level of competitiveness. at this point, and I like that Kevin O'Connell is saying the quiet part for coaches out loud, that the onus is on the organization more than it's on the player to get these guys right. And that's why I don't think Brian Callahan and Nick Holtz should be immune for criticism around the Levis stuff. Like Levis is getting a lot of heat, right? A lot of heat. And the bonehead things are justifiable. And Callahan speaks for the fan base when he says, "What the F are you doing?" and all these different things. But also, all right, figure it out. Like, you're paid a lot of money to come in here and figure out how to maximize the quarterback. They have paid a lot of money around the quarterback so that you can best maximize the quarterback. Levis said something that was pretty interesting yesterday. I don't know if you caught it during the press conference, where he said, it was the question about Callahan continuing to have his back on things. And I want to...
Yeah, it was like he goes as far as I go and vice versa.
Yeah, and the vice versa part of that is kind of crazy, because if I'm Brian Callahan, I'm sitting back and saying, bud. Like, and Levis is not saying anything. Like, he's just saying,
his success is my success and vice versa is essentially what he was saying.
That's what he's saying.
But yes, the fact is, Brian Callahan...
But if I hear that as Brian Callahan, whether he says it out loud or not, I'm thinking in my head, I'm not tied to you, buddy. Yeah. I'm unhitching my wagon at the first sign of opportunity if I feel like you're not viable. And that's an out that Titans fans would probably give him, right? Like, they would blame the quarterback before they blame the coach. And I'm not saying that there isn't an equal division of blame to go around here. And Callahan has been accountable on his part of things. They have to make life easier on that quarterback. They have to find a way. I'm not going to pretend to be a schematic expert to tell you exactly how they need to do it, but there have to be some bread and butter plays that are working on these opening drives where they're scoring points that they can go back to instead of just trying to change things up for the sake of changing things up, because they're trying to run a wider version of the offense that they might actually be capable of running right now. So condense the playbook.
And that's all Callahan's ever been a part of, right? Is just maximizing the strengths of that particular quarterback, however much responsibility we assign to him. Like, going back to him being on that Broncos staff where Tim Tebow won a playoff game, right? The only glimpse of good quarterback play we ever saw from Tebow, Callahan was associated with that, like he was with the Bengals, like he was with the Raiders and Derek Carr. We don't know how much responsibility there actually was there, but his name is attached to those players, and it stands to reason that Callahan had something to do with the success Jake Browning had when he came in for Joe Burrow last year. They had to change things up. They had to do what worked for Jake Browning.
But I'll also say that Jake Browning had significantly more time in that system to understand more of the concepts than Will Levis does.
We need to see it.
Levis is not Joe Burrow.
We need to see some of that with Levis. We haven't quite seen it through 3 weeks. So what else is the whole point of this segment was about.
Yeah, we got distracted.
How the Titans can salvage the season. What is there other than the left tackle playing well?
Oh, Levis. It's not over. Like, they can finish under 500 and you still figure out that Levis can be the quarterback, or, by the way, not be the quarterback. Both would be, I consider, success there.
Yeah.
If you have an ultimatum on the quarterback by the end of the year, then it's a successful season, whether it's good, whether it's bad. You need to know whether you need to hit eject, or you need to know whether this is your guy rolling forward and you can do things with him more viably. The point is, that evaluation doesn't end in week 3, even though you feel like your season is coming crashing down around you. Feel better?
Got to turn it around.
Okay. 615-737-1045. Last call for phone calls. We'll update some polls coming up next. Two Rivers Ford is the team that never lets you down. We break down everything about the teams here on 104.5 The Zone, but let's take time to break down one of the best teams here in Middle Tennessee, and that, of course, is the Two Rivers Ford team. You know, Two Rivers is really a rare kind of Ford dealership because they're one of the largest volume Ford dealers in the entire country, which may make you think that they might be some kind of corporate operation, but they're not. Two Rivers Ford is a locally owned dealership that's been around for over 4 decades, and that's because they do business the right way. They have a non-commissioned sales team, so there's never any pressure on you. They sell below MSRP on all their new non-specialty Fords, and they treat every customer like family. I know this because I'm a Two Rivers Ford customer myself. A great team always knows how to adapt, which is why Two Rivers Ford is known for offering every kind of shopping experience available. Whether you want to shop on the lot or meet with their non-commissioned sales team in person, do it virtually. You can even custom order your vehicle online and get it delivered right to your door the way that I did. There's a reason that a local dealership in Middle Tennessee has risen to become one of the top Ford dealers in the nation. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. End of the work week. Actually, the end of the work week. There's no Vols. I know Lucas has got My TV 30 tonight. A little high school football in the rain and the muck.
Mm-hmm. We're at Gallatin High School tonight on My TV 30, 7 p.m. is the kickoff. They host Green Hill in a region matchup. And I've got Nashville SC tomorrow night, too, if folks are driving around.
Oh, so I have nothing to do this weekend, and you have all the work to do.
That's right.
That for me. Titans, of course, on Monday night. I'm flying down to Miami on Sunday, so we'll do the primetime show from Miami on Sunday. We'll do the radio show from Miami on Monday and Tuesday, and we will see the results of that game. Of course, Vols off this weekend. You got, what is it, Memphis and NTSU this weekend as well?
That's right.
An interesting game between two Middle Tennessee teams. Last call for phone calls if you got them, 615-737-1045 if you want to jump in. Let's go to Ryan up next.
I know you said yesterday that everybody has a muddy pocket, but Levis has had the muddiest of pockets. Just look at the performance of the line last year and this year. And he's over 68%, which is what we thought going into the season would be great. And Lucas, I hit the island with a double spin move, and I took it the rest of the way down the field.
Nice.
I just think the differentiation here is that I don't have a kitchen island and you do.
You don't have an island. I like an island.
I live in a tall and skinny, bud. Where the hell are you putting an island in my place?
You are the problem.
You could juke out the fridge or a cabinet. I mean, you could
Juke
make
out the
it work.
fridge?
Yeah.
Where are you going to juke out the fridge? There's a wall between you. How are you going to spin off the fridge? You going to spin to the side? Just
Got to be elusive.
Just roll to the side over the fridge?
Yeah.
That's like in a spy movie when they try to roll over the top of the car. You're just doing it in reverse. That doesn't make any damn sense.
If
course
you were
you don't have an
elusive, this
island.
wouldn't be a problem.
Did you just say, of course you don't have an island? Like
Transplant.
Real Nashvillians have islands.
That's right.
Is that the is that so?
It's a hashtag.
Is that so? Oh goodness. To his point about the quarterback though, he is the second most pressured quarterback in football. Deshaun Watson is the first. He is the most sacked quarterback in football, so I will grant you that. But I'm understanding of that. I factor that into my analysis, but we can still get a good enough read on the quarterback while he's under pressure. Because how he operates under pressure, what's the biggest knock on Trevor Lawrence right now? He folds like a house of cards when he's pressured at all.
I think he's seeing ghosts.
He had that. You want to talk about spinning out of things that don't exist?
Yeah. That's where that conversation came from. He was spinning around nothing.
Yeah.
There was no reason to spin. He had a
nobody
clean
there.
pocket.
Yeah.
And he just did a spin move and then got hit.
Steve on YouTube says that caller is wearing some Parfum de mayonnaise and doing unspeakable things while watching Levis Kentucky highlights. I don't know about that.
Mine came the other day. The perfume.
Phrasing.
It came in the mail.
Go to the polls. Yeah. You came in your mayonnaise? Does this feel low to you? This feels... Jesus, Jackson. People in the chat are in disbelief that you actually ordered the mayonnaise perfume.
You ordered it like right when it came out, I think. It took a while.
Imagine getting, because it's not his fault that they're running the mayonnaise ad on Amazon Prime last night, but like the Control the Chaos Will Levis commercials they get worse by the week.
What's the most positive story that you've seen in sports this week? Jack says that there's no Titans football on Sunday and he can enjoy a happy weekend. Tyler says, oh, this is cool. Former Oklahoma player and Josh Heupel teammate Chris Hammonds wearing a Tennessee hat during the Oklahoma game because of a promise that he made to Heupel's mother before she passed. And there are tweets from Chris Hammonds when people are asking him. He was seen, former Oklahoma player, on the sideline.
What are you doing?
In a Tennessee hat.
Oh, I bet he got buried.
And he tweeted in a response, he said, I made a promise to someone that meant a great deal to me. She was every bit my mom. She asked me to be on the sidelines in Tennessee colors with Josh because she wouldn't be able to. I promised I would be there for her. Then I said I love you and goodbye to her for the last time. Very, very cool story, and I hope he made whatever Oklahoma fan feel terrible for chastising him for wearing a Tennessee hat on the sideline.
Well, that's lovely.
Does the Bama versus Georgia game lose any meaning because of the 12-team playoff? 66.7% say no, it does not.
No, and I don't think we're going to feel the effects of that in the game. I think it's something that people say if they're already against the expansion of the playoff, and there's really not that many people who are still against expansion, and it doesn't matter anyway because expansion has happened.
12-team playoff or 14 playoff, either Bama or Georgia would still be alive if they lost this game, regardless of what era we would be in.
Sure.
What is the most positive thing you can say about the Titans so far this season? Brandon says they're going to win.
You did not tweet that out from my account.
Did I tweet it? Do my eyes deceive me? At Buck Rising is the Twitter account.
I hate you for that.
Brandon says they're going to win.
The most positive thing you can find about the Titans season is the poll you put up today.
I mean, as a Titans fan, I don't see why you should have a problem with this. Brandon says they're going to win on Monday night.
Hate you.
V-Love says, I'm 3-0 at having a good time with my friends. Haven't lost a tailgate yet.
Well, that's lovely.
See, Vincent gets it. It's all about the friends we make along the way.
Have you made a lot of friends along the way at 0-3?
Brian.
How much is your friend group expanded at 0-3 in your sad little studio sitting here with Zach?
Colton says Nick Folk has made every field goal. Parrish says we're mostly healthy. That's very true. John also says fairly healthy so far. Yes, knock on wood. Kenneth says it can only go up from here. Please.
Oh, well, that's not true.
No, yeah,
you could be the Jags.
Can always be worse. Dylan says Latham and Sweat look like studs. Think that Brownlee Jr. can get there too.
Well, let's not put the expectation on a 5th-round corner that you are the first-round top 10 pick at left tackle. But yeah, it's good to see the young guys contributing. I think Sweat, I think he ran out of gas a little bit in the heat against the Packers, and the Packers were sustaining drives against the Titans defense. The Titans offense was not sustaining drives, so the defense had to get back on the field. But I think, in a more managed and balanced situation, yeah, you'll start to see more of Sweat. And by the way, like Jeff and Sweat, that defense have to collectively be better. I know anyway, we're at the end of the show. We can talk about this on Monday.
You got a whole show on Monday.
Yeah, I forgot.
Whose side are you on? Matthew Sluka or UNLV? 55.4% say Matthew Sluka.
I am too.
Nah, the information's important and we don't have enough. Those are the polls.
Pro player, I don't care. Don't care about the information.
Just blindly.
That's right.
Anytime.
They get to make the bad decisions now.
Player can stab his teammate and enter the portal, and Buck is pro player.
As long as no harm comes, no physical harm, I'm okay with it. Mental and emotional harm, that's all right. I can live with that. The next time I talk to you, I'll be in Miami. Hopefully you guys are safe from the weather this weekend. Enjoy a weekend of peace and relaxation if your football team is not playing. And we'll get back to it when we preview a game with you on Monday night.